Hello and welcome back. So today we're going to be doing a nice little activity on mindless eating. So mindless eating first came around from the idea of Dr. Wansink, who wrote a wonderful book, and the whole concept of what it means when we just sort of start eating and forget that we're full and continue to eat continuously afterwards. So why don't we start by thinking about the following scenario. Imagine we have an individual and his name is Casey. Casey likes to eat chips while watching TV, and Casey continues to eat chips until the show is over and then puts away the chips. In another scenario, Casey eats chips while watching TV, but he stops eating when he's no longer hungry, even though the show is still on TV. The question becomes, which situation is most like you? Do you eat throughout the show, or do you eat until you're full? And that's an internal question. That's something that you have to think about for yourself. And so if we take that idea, what we start realizing is there's linked activities that we do every day as we walk around our environment that are forcing us or telling us we should be eating in them. One of the most classic examples of a linked activity is eating popcorn or food while watching TV or watching a movie. Most people, when they imagine a scenario where they go to the movie theater, they imagine themselves with some popcorn or a Coca-Cola, and they think that's an activity that goes hand in foot. The same thing goes for keeping candy or a candy jar on your desk at work. If it's on our desk at work, we're more likely to consume that candy than if it was out of sight and out of mind. So one thing we have to do when we think about mindless eating, and if we're just doing it because or actually because we're hungry, is we have to do chain breaking of these activities. We have to actually say to ourselves, I'm not hungry, I don't need to eat that now, or just because I'm watching a movie, it doesn't mean that I need to have popcorn. So taking this idea then of mindless eating, let's think about what we had for dinner last night. When did you stop eating? Was it when the plate was empty or when you were full? Did you go back for seconds because there was more left in the pot, or did you say maybe that could be another day's meal? When you're eating a meal, do you usually try to finish everything on your plate? Why or why not? What would be the rationale behind that? And again, these are internal questions for you to think about. When you go to a restaurant and order a soda or a drink, how likely are you to get a drink refill? Are you more likely to get it if the drink refill is free? And overall, why would you get the drink refill? Is it that you're still thirsty or because it's being offered to you? Here's some takeaway facts on what we know. 54% of American adults aim to finish everything on their plates. This behavior is leading to weight gain amongst us. We also have to watch out. Many people are eating more food than they think. What's happening a lot of times nowadays is that our plate size has increased since the 1950s to a quite large proportion. And as a result, we're putting more food on that plate, which is making us consume more calories. Now, on the left-hand side, we see a picture of an individual and they're eating a bowl. This is a classic psychological experiment. What they set up was this is called the endless bowl experiment. They had an individual and there was soup in his bowl. What the participant didn't realize is that at the bottom of that bowl was a hose, and another scientist was pouring food continuously or soup continuously into a tube that would continuously feed soup into that bowl. What they found is that people that were being given this endless bowl scenario would eat proportionally more food than those that were just given a regular bowl. And it ties back with the idea that we have an impression through mindless eating that we continue to eat as long as there's food on our plate, and that we won't be full until the bowl or plate is empty. I highly encourage you to go to the following website. It's called Mindless Eating, and it's by Dr. Wansink, and it really has a lot of different information for you as far as what mindless eating really is, different scenarios you can do as far as helping to identify mindless eating that you may have in your life, and how to abrogate those activities. Here's just a couple things from the website that you may find interesting. For example, the curse of the candy dish. Through Dr. Wansink's data and others, they found that if you take that candy dish that's on your desk and move it just 6 feet away, you're more likely to eat 110 calories less throughout the day. They also looked at the behavior of different individuals that go to buffets. They find that people that are skinny are unknowingly doing things to avoid eating more behavior. They face away from the buffet. They actually scan the buffet before serving themselves to decide what they actually want to eat versus what's being presented to them. Again, all these things stick to the idea of mindless eating, and whether or not they're in control or the food is in control of what's going on. We also see these tips to prevent mindless eating, such as hunger checks, asking if you're really hungry, or maybe you're just bored, or stress, or different activities going on. Maybe I'm watching a movie and I think I should eat now, but I may not be hungry. Refocus our activities, do different things, of course, exercising, going for a walk, will give us more energy and also help to abrogate any sort of hunger we may be feeling. Drinking water instead of sodas and pops and different beverages when we're out, it hydrates us and also doesn't add calories to our diet. Preparing healthy snacks and also keeping the foods that we know we're prone to eat, such as potato chips, candy, out of our house and out of our sight. If we keep things like that on our countertops, we're more likely to eat it just because we see it available. If we hide those types of foods or don't make them available for us at home, then we can't consume them. It's also important to keep in mind as far as the mindless eating behaviors we're passing on to our children. There's a classic scenario called the Clean Plate Club. The Clean Plate Club has been around since the 1950s, and it was the idea that children should always clean all the food off their plate. And if they do it, they get the Clean Plate Award, which is an empty plate, or also they could be part of the Clean Plate Club. What we're really doing, though, when we do that activity is teaching our children to do mindless eating. Instead of listening to the internal cues their bodies are telling them, am I hungry? We're trying to teach them instead, you won't be hungry, and instead you'll be full when your plate is empty. This is poor behavior to pass on to children. They know when they're hungry, they know what they like, and so it's very normal for kids to leave food on their plate. That food can always be repurposed for another meal at another time. And the important thing to keep in mind is that we shouldn't be forcing the food on the children if they're not hungry. Instead, let them listen to their internal cues if they're hungry or not, so therefore they make better choices as they continue to age and grow up. So that leads us to our exercise for this module. What I'd like you to do is compare food on two different size plates. So looking at the picture to the left, what we learn is that plate size has gradually increased since the 1960s to current day. While in the 1960s, maybe a plate size was around 8.5 inches and could only hold about 800 calories, today, plate size has increased about 12 inches and can hold 1,900 calories. That's about how many calories somebody would consume in an entire day, not just for one meal. So what I'd like you to do is take two different plate sizes, one of a plate that's around 8 to 9 inches, another one of a plate that's around 12 inches. Fill the plate that's smaller with food until you think that's a normal portion. Take a picture of it. Then take that same food and place it on the larger plate and take another picture. And what I'd like you to do then is reflect on that meal and on those plates. Which one do you think would actually lead to satiety or make you feel full? Is there any difference between them? And then if you even have the capability of weighing the amount of food, that'd be nice too to see the difference between the size of the plates. At the same time, I'll put in some reflective questions for you on the assignment that's dropped on Blackboard. Again, these are for reflection for you to try to identify any sort of mindless eating behavior, so therefore you can learn more about yourself and curb those sort of behaviors. So I really hope you enjoy this exercise. Thanks for your time, and we'll talk soon.